All right. Hello. If you're watching this, that means that you probably just watched my drum cover of Fontaines DC's Sundowner, which is a song off their new album, which was released last Friday, which I love very much and have listened to many, many, many times. I'm a huge fan of this band's first album and their subsequent album, which I know a lot of people didn't love. And this new album, I was listening to the singles they were dropping prior to the release. The Favorite, that song freaking kills. I love that song. I was going to do a cover of that song, but when I was recording it, it wasn't meshing. I don't think it's very easy using my method of drum cover recording to do that song. So I knew I needed to do some song off this album. Listening through the whole thing, Sundowner immediately top of the list because the drum groove on this song is amazing. And fans of the band will know that this drummer is amazing, right? And all of his parts and his orchestrations and just what he does on the kit, everything he does on the kit is creative and fun and energetic, and it just adds so much to the song, which is what drummers are supposed to do, right? Usually. I guess it depends on the genre, but yeah, I mean, he's great. And what he's doing on this album in particular is awesome. And this song is great because of the drums. I feel like this is an example of how the drums can really take the lead on a song and morph it into something special, right? I feel like the drums are really in the driver's seat here, which is awesome to see from a drummer's perspective. So what I'll do is I'm going to give you a little tutorial on how I played this part, or how I did play this part. I post drum covers sometimes. If you're new to the channel or if you've seen some of my old drum covers, I do post drum covers occasionally, and sometimes people ask me what I did while I was playing, and then I'll post another video saying here's what I did. So what I thought would be a cool format is just to do both of them at the same time. So I'll show you the drum cover, and then the back end of the video will be a little tutorial, and if you want to watch it, you can watch it, which is what this is. Okay, so this is the tutorial for Sundowner by Fontaines DC. The groove itself is pretty simple, okay? But there's two things that make this groove very, very special, right? That make it what it is. The bouncing snare accents, okay? Bouncing is a terminology that I'm employing here, but it's the bouncing snare accents. That's one. Two, when he's opening the hi-hat and the length of time in which the hi-hat is open when he's hitting it. That's special in particular, which I'll get to later. And a little bit of a preface to this tutorial. My drum cover philosophy is not to play it exactly right? So the transitions in my drum covers and some of the accents and some of the things I do with the grooves, it's not 100% perfect, because in my mind that's very boring to do, right? Some people love accuracy, and I can respect that. But I want to play drum covers to have fun, to relax on the kit, to implement some of my own styles and orchestrations into the song where appropriate, where tasteful, hopefully. But that's kind of my philosophy. So if you're looking for how to exactly play Sundowner, exactly 100% like the drummer from Fontaines DC plays it, this is not your place, right? But if you want a general shell of the groove that's going on here, I think I can provide that. Um, yeah, so let's get into it. Okay, I'm going to play the bass groove. Not worried about the open hi-hats right now, just the groove. And I'll slow it down, I'll speed it up, and I'll do a couple different tempos. But this is the foundation of it. And the nice thing about this song from a drummer's perspective is the groove is amazing, and he just rides it the whole time, right? There's no real change. There's variation with the accents and what he's doing, with those subtle decisions, which really shapes the entire groove. But the shell is very consistent. So let's just play that shell. Okay, so that's the shell. And that basically stays the same for the entire song. And those bouncing snare hits that I'm talking about, it's those 4 snare hits that bounce. They're 16th notes, right? So I will say I'm playing 8th notes predominantly. I'm playing 8th notes on the hi-hat. What I believe is happening in the song itself is he's probably playing mostly 16th notes on the hi-hat, and then he is aligning and coordinating those 16th notes with the bouncing 16th notes on the snare, right? So they're lining up, right? And he's changing the accents on the hi-hat, of course. But that gives a really cool effect. And in general, when I'm practicing 16th notes and I'm practicing my hi-hat grooves, I'm always trying to coordinate that and bounce the snare in alignment with the 16th notes on the hi-hat. So I'm going to play what I think is probably happening on the song itself, just so you can kind of understand what the heck I'm talking about when I'm saying he's matching up those bouncing hits on the snare with what he's doing on the hi-hat. So this is kind of what I mean when I say that. Right. So just in general, when you're practicing your 16th notes, bounce those snare hits, right? And coordinate that with the hi-hat. That's a really useful skill to know, and it's particularly useful if you're trying to play this song, because I think that's what's going on. Now, again, I'm playing mostly 8th notes on the hi-hat, and then I'm orchestrating in some extra hits and some extra accents because that fits the feel. It works. It's a little bit easier. to coordinate, so it transfers better through a drum cover situation when you have multiple drums kind of going on and you're trying to align yourself with what is actually being played. But that's what I think's going on. Now, that's the first thing, right? That's what really makes the groove, are those snare accents. Another thing that makes the groove just as important, I think, is what he's doing with the hi-hat. Don't sleep on what he's doing with the hi-hat. Don't sleep on what drummers do with the hi-hat in any song, because that is super important. That's where all the flavor is coming from. Now, he does something really cool where he opens the hi-hat, right? And we're familiar with opening the hi-hat, the concept of opening a hi-hat to give it, an accent, basically, right? But he chooses to open it for an extended period of time, right? More open hits consecutively than you might originally think or would consider the drummer doing, right? Maybe it's one or two usually just one, but he leaves it open for at least 4 or 5 hits, and he coordinates that with those bouncing snare hits, right? So when he's opening it, he's also playing those 4 consecutive bouncing snare hits, okay? So those are aligning in the song, which really adds, I think, just so much sauce. I don't know how else to say it. It just adds so much, right, to the groove. So I'm going to play it with those open hi-hats so you can really get what this whole thing is about. Okay, so I think you can really hear that in the song very well. So when you're trying to play this song, if you're trying to cover this song, you got to pay attention, obviously, to those bouncing snare hits, but just as importantly, you got to pay attention to the accents that are being thrown in on the hi-hat, okay? Because that really makes the song, right? And that's basically it, right? There's no real other variation happening with the groove. He rides it consistently throughout the song because it's so awesome. And why change it? So that's it. That's really it. Let me know what you think of this video. If you like this format, I like to keep the covers at the beginning of the video. So if you don't want all this tutorial nonsense, you don't have to, deal with it, right? But let me know what you think. Let me know if you want to hear, some other covers. Let me know what you think of this album. Let me know what you think of the drums on this album specifically. I think it's a freaking revelation, man. It's fantastic. But I want to know what you think. So let me know in the comments. And yeah, hopefully you yourself can try to play Sundowner from Fontaines, DC. So thank you.